the mic still on?
You got Ken and Beezy, Sophie and Mike, fee for a ride. The people wanna know, is the mic still on? I'm saying.
I just really need a job.
40 on 2.
This is telemarketing.
Stick to the script.
Hey, hello. Mr. Davison, cash is screen here. Sorry to butt.
Let me give you a tip. You want to make some money here? Use your white voice.
My white voice.
I'm not talking about Will Smith's wife, like this young blood.
Hey, Mr. Kramer. This is Langston from Regal View.
Is the mic still on? Podcast. Make sure you subscribe. SoundCloud.com/is the mic still on, or you can just go to the website denhiphop.com and just go to the tab at the top.
So like the origin of this, I mean, of course, I think originally you saw it first. We was talking on Is the Mic Still On? And you know, Rod said he saw it, and none of us saw it yet. You know, at the point, and I think
he was doing a mic check actually.
He was doing a mic check, and then I think what, like a week later you saw it, Mike. About a week after that, maybe a few days later.
Yeah, it was like a few days after that. I saw it.
So then I guess Rod, did you say something that you liked it, or you posted?
Well, people were speaking highly of it.
Real quick, when you were talking about it, and you were having that discussion about it. I didn't even know anything about the movie.
Oh, really?
At all.
Yeah, me neither.
Y'all never even heard that?
No, I knew it was coming out and everything.
I didn't know anything about it.
Me neither.
Yeah. So that was my first introduction to it.
And I was always like, I bet that's gonna be pretty interesting. And then that's when Rod was like, I ain't care for it, and I'm like, I still want to see it.
I couldn't get with it. I just couldn't. But I could.
And then when Mike saw it, and I think he said that he liked it, then that's when Rod was like, yo, we all gotta go. Everybody gotta go see it because we gotta talk about this.
Yeah, Mike loved it.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
And see, and I think I found out Ken did last week because he mentioned it doing another mic check or whatever. I was like, okay, this is gonna be interesting. So I wanted you to see it, and I want to know and B to see it. So just to see where everybody head was with it.
Sophie didn't go see it,
which is why she's not here.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, she had no intentions of the way when I asked her her reaction, it was like she didn't have no intentions of seeing this movie.
Have a reason why? Or?
No, just she being Sophie.
Sophie.
Yeah, Sophie being Sophie.
About the movie.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but I, you know, and maybe that's a conversation for her. But maybe she's just not a movie person like that. So I don't know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What you think about it, B?
I liked it.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
FIFO smiling.
I fuck with it. Yeah, I fuck with it.
Why you grinning, FIFO?
Because you know what? I really wanted to, but that whole fucking horse shit that threw me the fuck off.
But it was like a message under that though.
I
like,
understand.
I didn't get that.
You didn't get the message?
The horse people.
So working at our job, I would figure like y'all would get this the most.
Labor.
Okay, when I say y'all, I take that back. I understand you understood it, you just didn't like it.
Yeah.
But I figured that message would be very obvious.
I didn't
like they were trying to turn people into workhorses.
Right.
Like I think there were multiple levels to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I think like that was the main thing. It was like people are workhorses.
Yeah.
But then I figured this other one out. And I haven't seen anybody else mention this, but I also think that maybe it was also a reference to like, because there were like these weird race issues with the movie, obviously, but they weren't outright. But maybe actually was like the whole buck situation. Like, remember how they used to refer to slaves?
Yep.
And this is literally this morning that I thought of this. Literally this morning, I was like, wait a minute. I wonder if they were like doing the whole bucking. So like they used to refer to slaves as bucks. And then the slave masters beating the shit out of them until they were completely subservient was called breaking. Was it called breaking the buck or bucking?
Buck.
I think it might have been called bucking.
But a buck is a deer though.
Not necessarily. It can also be a horse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you think about it, remember the horses were kept in that room and they were scared and they were like, help us.
Just
breaking the buck.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's definitely what it was, but that's what I thought of this morning. And I'm mad that I did a video and I didn't think of that shit. Because I would have put it in the video.
You did that one watch review.
I know. Right. I still haven't seen it more than once. But yeah.
You still have it?
I only saw it once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense because I was watching this shit. I'm like, yo, this shit was thrown off, real fast.
And see, that's what happened to you. You like with me, it's like I get all the messages. You know what I'm saying? I get what's going on, but it's like you get so lost in it's so much of it. I guess
visually
and just verbally, I guess if you want to say like it's just a lot of it to me. It just feel like it was just over the top. Because I get that like it's this alternative look at current situations, right? I get that, but like that particular situation threw me off. It's like the whole movie. I was like, damn, I like it. I kept going through waves. Like, oh man, I want to like it. I had the same feeling. Oh, I want to like this. I want to like this. And then the fact that by the end of the movie, it was a whole bunch of I want to like this. I was like, I guess I didn't really like it or whatever.
If you kept feeling that way,
I kept feeling that way. It's like I kept trying to give it passes almost. Like, damn, this is really good. And then it's like, but that threw me off. Like the horse shit isn't even the main thing that really threw me off. It was like the whole white voice shit. Like I felt like
what do you mean? That was like the best part of the
just
movie.
hokey to me, man.
But
it threw me off every time I heard I cringed.
But that's some real
Think
shit,
about
though.
our job, like what we had to do at that job. Like Ken doesn't have a white voice,
right?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of our management was scared of Ken, but they were not intimidated by me for the most part.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, if you think about it, like the white voice shit made so much sense.
I know it
coming
does.
from a corporate environment.
And I know it does.
And
That's
I
not
know
what
people who's working that corporate
I
environment.
think you're missing what I'm saying.
Wait a minute.
So I'm not saying the white voice. If Lakeith talked in a white voice, I think that I would have been cool with that. But this was like another guy talking,
like another person.
Another person.
But that's definitely what happened. That's code switching is what they call it. Yeah, code switching. When you switch to something that you are not in order to remove any type of aggression or intimidation to the other person.
No, I understand that. I worked in this. I worked in the same place y'all did, but it's just the fact that they used a voiceover.
So you would have liked it if Omari. You would have liked it if Omari would use like his white voice, like not like a.
Yeah, that's what I would have rather. I would have rather him to use a white voice
in your face.
Yes,
but I feel like that would have been as well.
No. I think it needed to be that.
It needed to be over the top.
It needed to exactly. It needed to be over the top to drive the point home. Exactly, because
see, I didn't feel like you need to draw the point home. It's like, yo, just have the guy talk in a very extreme white voice.
But how many people can do that perfectly?
Exactly.
I mean, if you're an actor, you can.
Not necessarily.
I don't think Omari.
It wouldn't have sounded like that.
I don't want it to sound like that. I wanted it to sound like how it would naturally sound like.
But that's not driving the point home because I think a layer that was very obviously missed was that if you think about that room that they were in, there were white people in that room.
Yep.
Right, who have a white voice.
Right.
But they could not promote and move up like Lakeith Stanfield did, like Cassius did.
Right.
Why is that?
Right.
Their white voice wasn't good enough. They needed the perfect white voice. Cassius's white voice and Langston's white voice would not have been good. Think about not Morgan Freeman, Danny Glover trying to do a white voice.
Yeah. Right. And I understand it, and
it wouldn't have worked for the movie.
It wouldn't have worked.
No. Listen, this is where I'm going. I get that part because I thought about that. I thought about the fact, like, okay, so you have to differentiate the white people that are in the room from like you said, like somebody that actually has to talk extra white, right? So why wouldn't the people at the party and stuff talking like that then? Because they clearly are already in that space, right?
They were white, right? The people at the party
but to the point of like the people that are in the office. They talk like regular white and don't have this voiceover sound. Why didn't everyone in the room have that voice?
Because they didn't have to.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was the point of the movie, Rod, is that everybody isn't the same and everybody's voice isn't created equal. And if this person can have this magical voice, then he's getting promoted.
No, but I'm saying, why everybody in the room doesn't have this magical voice?
Everybody in what room? What room are we talking about?
Like the party where he was accepted. Everyone that was there.
Because they don't have to. They're already white. They don't have to have a white voice.
Exactly. So that goes back to the actual office floor where they're not there and they have a regular white voice.
Right.
They didn't make it though, but they have a regular white voice.
Regular white voice.
They were already accepted because they were white and have the white voice, so they didn't have to have a perfect white voice. They didn't have to be extra with it.
Right.
That's
so let me
why
stop
they
there.
were able to. Okay.
So going back to the floor, y'all said that there white
that's
people.
Where I was talking about the floor.
Right. So okay. So we're talking about the lower level floor and the what they call it?
Okay, so you're talking about the white people that's on the lower level floor.
Yeah, they have the white person's voice. The people on the power call that have regular white people voices.
Okay, because I think okay, there's another layer that you're missing. I feel like not you're missing, but the white voice wasn't just the voice. Because remember, Langston says that. It's a feeling of giving off, of making people comfortable. It's not just the way you're speaking, it's the way you're carrying yourself. That's why I thought that point was interesting because you have these regular white people that they aren't able to portray the perfect ideal idea of white. Like there's already the standard of white.
Right.
Then there's like this exaggerated level of white that even some white people can't get.
Right.
So they didn't have to speak. Maybe it's about more so the way they carry themselves that make people comfortable.
Because white people
like
segment themselves from other white people.
Exactly.
The white people segment themselves from other white people.
No.
Too.
I understand that point. I do. I understand that. It's just the voiceover that I didn't like.
So you're thinking that if the white people that were on the lower level spoke
like just regular,
like
right?
Lakeith.
Not even just like Lakeith, not like black per se, but just real regular or
They
whatever.
did.
Okay, but saying like it's just
white people down there spoke
it's
normal.
literally just the voiceover that messed
But you know
with
what?
me.
They wasn't good enough. They wasn't good enough to get to the top. Lakeith was good enough to get to the top, but because he was black, he needed the white voice to make the people he were calling comfortable.
Exactly.
With
So
what he was
why
selling.
wasn't Glover up there then?
He wasn't good enough.
He wasn't good enough. Even though he had it, he wasn't good enough.
Right.
And I think that it was also an interesting point that every time he talked to somebody that you saw him actually like go and be in front of that person. And once he
No, that was dope.
yeah, that was super dope.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that when he had the voice over white voice and he was standing right in front of him talking, remember the dude passed him the joint and everything? Because he made him feel exactly that comfortable. And then to see that dynamic of a black guy, right? You know that's not his voice. He couldn't even make that voice up. But having that level of comfortability and that guy across the table didn't know he was really black, that was powerful.
Yeah, I like
That's
the
extremely
idea.
powerful.
I guess you're not understand. Like, I like the idea. I like the idea of because I talk white and I have this white persona that I'm accepted. I like that. I just don't like the voiceover. It just doesn't. It never like meshed with me. It's like it wasn't mixed right. or
But it's not
something.
supposed to. Exactly.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Because okay, think about it. Think about it this way: the people that Cassius was supposed to be talking to, they were not supposed to be really talking to Cassius. In their head, they're talking to a different person.
Exactly.
So the perfect thing to do is to get a different person to do the voice, because that's who they feel like they're talking to.
It made it more powerful.
That works
Rod.
perfectly, man.
Especially, and that's the reason why I brought up like every time you saw him talk to somebody, because that's what made it powerful was the fact that there was a voiceover, because it's not even him.
Exactly, it's not even him.
Right.
And that goes to the whole point of the movie of not actually being yourself. They
Exactly.
weren't being themselves. They were really technically being somebody completely different.
I think you could act like someone else.
There's no way.
I would have wanted him to act like someone else.
The whole sentiment of the entire movie wouldn't have been driven home if I would have made "Hello, Roderick, how you do?" Like it wouldn't have been the same. It would not.
And
have
Danny
been
Glover
the
would have
same.
been even worse because your voice lighter than his.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Like think about it. Like okay, look, do a white voice, Ken. Like I said earlier, I have one. Ken does not have one.
Ken's not an actor either.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
No,
See?
he don't have it.
Like,
He don't have it though. No, but no.
Ken
This is
look,
1000%
speaking
right.
proper is not the same thing as speaking white.
Yes.
Ken can code switch to speaking proper.
Right.
You could never speak like a white man.
Nah, because my mom always made sure that we spoke proper English.
Exactly. That's why it's different. That's why I said earlier, at our job, you could tell. Like Adam Bean is a perfect example. He is the most proper guy because he's Ella educated.
Right.
He's very articulate. But he does not have a white voice in his body. He can't.
And I think the other thing that going back to Danny Glover and why he didn't make it is that it shows like, you know, selling out doesn't always work.
Right.
And like he had the white voice. He showed him how to use the white voice.
Right.
And he was using the white voice. He wasn't able to make it. Right. You know, and the other thing just real quick about him passing the blunt to him, I love that because it showed that there's this idea that white people don't do drugs. So for him to pass the joint to a black man, a white man passing the joint to him, I thought was dope. So, but yeah,
that is deep because it's even deeper when you consider the fact that they were hiding it in cocaine.
Right.
Which is typically I'm not trying to be racist, but it's typically a white drug.
Yeah.
And they got black people to do it. Like, so that breaks that stigma automatically.
Can we go, look, before I forget, I just got to bring up the party. Man, yo.
Nigga shit. That was,
man, bro.
Yo.
Nigga shit, nigga.
That was like the best part
Like you
of the
rap.
movie.
No, you rap.
Yeah.
No. You're lying to me.
We've all been in
so much mess, man. So much like real life mess going on in that, man.
Now, like I said, it had its high points, definitely.
But
Definitely
just like, I don't know what you guys feeling, but I'm sitting there and he was like, he was trying and they were just standing there looking at him. They just standing there. Then it was like, nigga shit. And I was like, and then they got into it. And I'm like, wow. The idea of nigga shit being a form of entertainment in the form of an art form like hip hop.
Yep.
But in order for them to enjoy it, it has to be like nigga shit.
Yeah.
And then them turning around singing it themselves. Like when I saw them, like I couldn't help but cringe.
They
I'm
was
like,
getting hyped. They was just getting
like
hyped.
seeing them say the N-word, even though I know it's a movie, I was like, I was like, oh hell no. I said that out loud in the movie. I was like, oh hell
they was getting
no.
hyper, nigga shit, yeah.
Which is what they do now.
Yep.
Yes,
It's a perfect like critique on how
like real life
these people are now. Like everybody that goes to rap concerts think they're either entitled or they should be emboldened to say the N-word. And then he goes to this fucking high class party,
right?
And that's all they want is nigga shit over and over again.
And I like how it played on for again, like I guess real world is like how that one girl got like famous off of like a meme on social media when she threw the can on my man's head.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a play on like real life. Like people really go get famous and get deal. She had a deal. That girl that ended up hitting them with the can ended up getting like a deal. And like we've seen stuff like this happen in real life. So I thought it did a good job on touching on like shit we see today, like what's going on in the world. I'm like, damn, that's true.
And go ahead. No, go ahead.
And the doper shit about that, which I didn't think of before I did my video either, is that the whole idea that she was supposed to be there because she was supposed to be an activist, but she was like what they call fake woke. Like once she got that deal, the fucking doesn't matter anymore.
It didn't matter anymore. And that's like
some old
Dr.
Umar
crazy.
shit.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
And that's the thing that I love. I think for me, like watching it as it went on and on, like I pulled away. Like it got to the black stuff, like with the voice, and then the token. But for me, man, when it was capitalism. And it goes back to that meme. Like that was my whole thing. It was like at the end of the day, we're just trying to get this money. Yeah, we're gonna use the horses and the people are gonna be the horses, but we're also gonna take these black people and hand them a check and say, yo, man, all you have to do for this amount of money, you can do this for 5 years and then we'll give you a drug to come back to being who you are. And then, because he wanted to make it so much, he left all his people behind, and was he even fake woke? Because he had the activist girlfriend.
About Cassius?
Yeah.
Well, he only offered it to Cassius. He didn't offer it to those other people.
But I'm wondering, like, his girlfriend was an activist and people around him, were activists too. But was he an activist, or did it take something happening to him for him to become the activist?
It took him. That's what happens a lot. It takes a lot of people. It takes the situation being personified for it to actually mean something to them. A lot of people just see this shit and they're just like, "Oh, I care. This sucks." But they don't really until it actually affects them.
Right. He just went along with the flow. And then when they brought him in, because he didn't even want to protest.
Right.
He didn't even want to protest. But then they came in, it was like, and they just, it's almost like they knew he was the one. And it was like, if we can pull him out, everything else will just kind of go to the wayside. So we'll take you and we'll promote you,
right?
And then we're gonna remove we're gonna have one less person to be out there to be a leader. And it turned out they made the right decision because he was the one that came back and was like, "Yo, this shit is crazy." And then for him to go to the game show. And then for them to take that and capitalize on that too,
because he's like, y'all gonna show my clip? Y'all gonna still show my clip?
Right. And the things he had to do in order to get the clip shown, when they saw the clip, they turned around and monetized that. And it's like, oh my God, this shit was freaking nuts.
It was.
And I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm just, the more and more, I just started falling more and more in love with it because they addressed capitalism and then the workhorse and then the horses with the big ass dicks that's just all in your face and how that shit just makes you uncomfortable and shit like that.
Wasn't that another part of how they chose which slaves to buck? Wasn't it that part of it? Like they had to have a huge dick or something? I think I read that somewhere.
I don't know about that.
I read that somewhere. He's like, oh, I saw a dick. I turned the article off.
No, it's not like that. It's just.
I'm kidding.
It just was. I don't know, man. It just got weird. I just feel like it got weird. It's like, oh.
But why is that a bad thing though? Like,
I'm
why
not saying it's a bad thing.
But
that's
that
why
turns you
that's what
off.
I say. That's what I'm saying. Like it's just not for me. I don't think it's ultimately for me. Like I just couldn't vibe with it like that. Like even with all the messaging and I got it, it was just like some of the way he directed this, I just wasn't feeling it. Like I don't agree with the whole voiceover thing. Even after y'all tell me the reason and why, I still don't like that. I don't like some of the over the top stuff they did, like with the windshield wipers, with the rope and all that.
Man, that was.
It's like I don't know. It's like that man.
Hey, we all been there.
You're just destroying this movie. Like you're destroying the parts that he was trying to draw. He was trying to be because it was exaggerated. Everything is exaggerated.
I know that's what I didn't like. I didn't like it being exaggerated. I guess I just personally don't like that type of.
That's just not the type of director.
That's just not.
That's not the type of
but I also
creative
feel,
juices.
The main dude was trstruggling, man. Like dude had a messed up car.
And the girl was riding and dying with him too.
That's what I was gonna say. Like she was helping. Like the whole point of like her being there with him and not judging him because of this, but being like, yo, I got your back. I'll pull this side, you pull that side. Like all of that shit. It was just necessary
in the garage.
So you thinking going to the extremes was necessary?
Absolutely.
Yes.
For a movie like this, yes.
I guess that's why I don't understand. Like, why do y'all think that's necessary?
Because right now we live in an extreme time, and a lot of it, right? Like we're distracted from a lot of this shit because a lot of this shit is literally happening right now. But we're distracted by social media, by all of this stuff, and we don't really understand the severity of the things that are happening. But when you have a movie that's like this, that puts it right in your face and shows you how like how far shit really is.
And sometimes we respond best to extremism.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you just
I guess I don't.
Yeah, it's like here's a book, read this book. Cool. I want to go back to his girl though, because I thought this was interesting. Right. So, she's with him day one, ride or die. Yep. Even when he sold out and got all that money, she was still with him. And I was like, because I was like, oh, she gonna leave his ass because he's not who he portrayed himself to be, even though he wasn't always saying that. Oh, he was just down with her because in return he was down for her because that was his girl. Yeah, baby, I'm woke. But even she followed him all the way through his success, and I was like, oh, so what does that say about her too? You being the activist, but this guy, when you guys were protesting, he walked up to the upper room and basically sold out, but you're still sleeping with him and enjoying the lavish results of him selling out. But you're an activist,
right?
Isn't that? It's like I don't know. It's like you're with them. I don't know. It's like I've been thinking about that part of it because I'm like, oh, as soon as he sell out, she's gonna leave him,
right?
Because he's not 100% down with the cause.
Yeah,
but she kind of moved on. You know what I'm saying? Once she found out what he was actually selling, it was a wrap.
No,
but did she sell out in her own way too? At the art show?
That was the point. Everybody has to sell out.
Yeah.
And that was
because she was speaking like in a different.
She was speaking in like a French or like some kind of accent, and he came up to the front and was like, "You need to stop. Like you're embarrassing yourself." And then 10 minutes later, he's doing the exact same thing.
He went to that party. He went to that party.
Speaking of the party, I wanted to come back around to that, and you just helped me do that. But at what point did he tell him, "Oh, you can stop talking in that voice"? Before. Didn't he tell him, "Oh, you can stop talking in that voice"? Because that's when he started saying the nigga shit.
No, he was like, "Tell me a story. Come on, you can get out your voice." When he was like, "Tell me a story about, I guess you gang banging or something, popping a cap."
So
why?
He
was like, "You can come out your." That's when he told him, "You can come out your voice."
So why did he do that?
Because he knew that voice was fake.
Yep. To make the black guy feel comfortable.
He knew that. The white folks at the top, they knew that those voices were not really their voices. Clearly. So he's like, you can feel comfortable. You can step out of that for a minute. Tell me about who you really are, because they think that all of us are either black, basketball players, rappers, gangbangers, or whatever. So he's like, yeah, you can turn that off and tell me about the real you, because clearly this can't be you. You can't be proper. You can't be professional. You're black.
Right. Because Omari came out his voice too when he told him to go down the hallway and stuff. I was like, oh, he can't out that white voice.
And that could be why you asked earlier. That could be why everyone at the party was not talking in those exaggerated voices, because maybe he's like, you don't have to do that here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that all right, that would make more sense to me. Yeah. So it was just a little thing. It was just, I don't know, man. The more I talk to y'all about it, I feel like I'm nitpicking it, but I didn't feel like I was nitpicking it at the time. Yeah. Like because it was an honest feeling. I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this, because I was going through waves. It's not like I hated it.
Yeah.
I never hated the movie. It was just that by the end of it, I was like, I don't think I liked that. I don't think I liked the movie ultimately. You know what I'm saying? Because I was going through so many ways. It had potential for me the whole time. I never went through that before, where a movie just had potential the whole time, and then by the end, I'm like, nah.
Do you think you'd have felt different if white people made it?
I don't think so.
I think a lot of people would.
Why?
Because me and Khan and Dom had this conversation last time. Is I feel like a lot of black people, they don't accept weirdness from other black people because we're not supposed to be that. If this was a movie made by white folks, I think it would be completely standard, like status quo. I think people would see that and they'd be like, oh, that's just white people being white people. But when we do it, it's way too far because we're not supposed to do that kind of shit. And I'm not saying that that's what you're feeling.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think that's what I can see how that could. I can see how that could be a feeling, but that's not what I'm experiencing.
Right.
Because I like some of the stuff that Childish Gambino does. Like he, I know y'all haven't seen it, the new series yet, but he had this weird ass series where, he's basically has the same condition as Michael Jackson did, like vitiligo. The pigment vitiligo or whatever, and it's just a weird ass episode. But I love the way they did it though. So I don't think.
Oh, you mean when he was selling the piano?
That shit was weird as fuck, right? It made you uneasy the whole time, but I loved it though. The way the pacing of it and everything.
You expected that type of shit from Childish Gambino. We don't know anything about Bruce.
But I expected that from this because of Lakeith in it, and I figured that Lakeith would take that type of role. Because Lakeith isn't. That's the type of actor that I see him as, because he's been in Get Out, he's in Atlanta, and I expected him to take the same type of role in this.
This was a different step from either one of those movies.
But it's in the same realm though.
Yeah,
it's in the same genre.
Right, you saying that because the episode of him in the piano episode, that's why you kind of expected that from him?
Yeah, that
because of that episode.
Yeah, not just that episode.
Okay,
no, but just him as an actor in general.
I got you.
His personality in general. I think he still has somewhat the same kind of like lazy guy personality, just kind of carefree. That's the type of roles I think he's been taking or whatever.
Yeah, I loved it because he was black. That was part of me loving the movie because,
and that's why I would love it too.
Yeah,
as a black director, like that's why I would support it.
And it
you know
shows
what I'm saying?
that we don't have to do like one.
Absolutely,
typical type.
Absolutely,
right.
I support it all
See, that's
day.
why I feel like that a movie like this would be way more accepted if it was white people. Because like think about like a movie like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Like I don't know if you ever saw that. Yeah. Did that throw you off, or was that like, oh, this is too much?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Like Eyes Wide. Like okay, so now I get what you're saying because I watch Eyes Wide Shut,
right,
and stuff like that. But
and you walk away being like, this is weird.
Though, but yeah, I do walk away with the weird feeling. But it's the same weird feeling I have when Donald Glover does his though. It's like, I got this weird feeling, but I still like it.
Let me ask.
I'm lost then. I don't know.
What you mean? No,
I'm not saying you're wrong.
I'm
just saying I'm. Yeah.
Go ahead, Kim.
Let me ask you guys this: like, what were some of the reactions in the movie theater while you guys were
people was walking out my theater like, oh, I want my money back.
Really?
Yes. They was like, what the fuck? They was like, what the fuck is this shit?
I
want my money
15
back.
people in mines, and we all stayed. Like nobody got up and walked out.
Wow, people left on mine.
People left. Like people were leaving early.
And I noticed when I was walking out, I was like, you know, as y'all walking down the steps and stuff like that, I was hearing a little bit of mixture of reactions. Like some people was like, oh man, this was great. Some people was like, oh, I don't know about this. Like I was hearing people like mumbling that as I was walking out the
I'm
theater.
glad I asked that question.
But no one got up and walked out though.
Because everybody was laughing and cackling throughout the whole movie.
I heard what the fuck multiple times.
I didn't hear any of that.
And I looked over and I saw people just like boop boop boop.
Yeah, I heard a bunch of what the fucks. I heard some laughs because again, like I went through waves of like, yo, like laughing, and then I'm like, yo, what the fuck?
And I thought it was
happening.
Yeah, and I thought it was like, wow, the people are in all black. That I could see, but it was majority black, and everybody was like really, really enjoying thoroughly entertained, laughing at everything, like out loud.
No, it's gotten great reviews. It's gotten great reviews.
Yeah,
but I didn't.
My theater wasn't all black. There were some white people there, and I remember a couple times I kept looking over like, what the fuck are you laughing
at?
Right. You can't laugh at that.
You can't laugh at that. Yeah.
I mean, that's wrong. Right. But I was still thinking it in my head a little bit, like you shouldn't be laughing at that shit.
People walked out. That's crazy.
Oh yeah,
I know,
black people walked out. I didn't see any white folks walk out because they're used to this. They're used to movies being over the top artistic. We're not. Not that we can't do that.
Right.
But when we go over the top, I think us as a community, we look at it.
It's not accepted. It's not accepted.
We look at stuff and we say, oh no, that's too weird.
Right.
We're not supposed to be weird. We're supposed to be cool.
Right.
You know, and I don't think that's fair.
But I walked away from the movie like because when I went to see, I was like, okay, yeah, this this thing we're gonna do, and I was like, maybe this is just a Ken movie, but just the messages and everything that just hit me in such a way. I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. Right. But then it was like, okay, I want other people to see this too. Mm-hmm. Even though they may walk away just like modest and be like, yeah, that's just artistically or visually just too much for me. But at least the messaging that's in the movie will, hopefully they'll be able to receive that too.
I don't want to say that it's too artistic. It's just, I want to say that it's just too over the top for me. Like, and I'm not by any means comparing this guy to him, but it's kind of like my gripe with like Tyler Perry movies. Like, his stuff is like so over the top. Like, it's just so like
bad. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's bad, but it's just like it's over the top. It's like every dude has muscles, and like the theme is just so extreme. It's like okay, so I kind of felt like that about this. Like it's like
really,
it's the same reasons I don't really get. But I appreciate Tyler Perry. I appreciate that he's creating opportunities. I appreciate that he's a black director and all that. So I appreciate him for what he's doing. So I want him to continue doing it. And he obviously has a demographic. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the same thing with this guy. This guy has a demographic, and he's creating opportunities for people or whatever.
What is Boots' demographic?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah, that's the
demographic
thing that kind of
very small.
Yeah,
and that's the part that sucks.
Yeah,
because like he said, there was like 4 people in the fucking theater.
Yeah.
When I went and saw it, there was maybe 20.
And again, like, and that's to another
and I
point.
Was in a small
and that's to another
too.
point
me
too,
too.
though. That's to another point too. Like, with it being so extreme, how many people are you thinking to reach with this?
But I think that it has to start somewhere. Yeah. That's the point. It's like, look, millions of movies can come out and give this exact same message. Mm-hmm. But the way Boots is delivering it, I feel like is what's really important, especially for black people. Is like, we don't understand that we don't have to just be so fucking plain and blunt with everything. We can code shit and it still be hard-hitting, creative, artistic, and well-meaning.
I'm saying, while it had some coded stuff, it had some very blatant. Like,
it did too, but it's like Tyler Perry would come out and have the actor be like, capitalism is bad and black folks don't have to say that.
No. I get
exactly.
Like he would have said it like that.
He has bad writing, basically. So he would say
he's just very generic.
I wouldn't even say exactly. I wouldn't even say it's bad writing. It's just generic.
Shit, it's some bad writing.
I don't watch his garbage ass movies. I've seen a couple. I'm just like, no.
I've seen them, but but I think this dude did that visually though. With a lot of that stuff.
I disagree. I think you're projecting yourself onto more people.
Creative, artistic part that's within you
that you're just picking up automatically,
bumping up against.
And I had that problem. I had the same problem with Get Out.
But not everybody is gonna pick that up. That's the thing. Like I said, a lot of people. Like when I put up something on Twitter that was like, yo, I love this movie, a lot of people responded back and they were just like, yeah, it was cool up until the fucking horse shit. What the fuck was that about? A lot of people literally just did not get it. Yeah. Like, I think that you're kind of assuming that a lot of people got it because you did.
Maybe.
Where I was just like, let me just throw this out there and see what the response is. And even when I did the video, a lot of the comments were like, I'm glad you did this because I liked the movie until the horses came out, and I didn't understand what the fuck it meant. I don't think that is generic. I think
How are people struggling with even when the horses came on scene, like I was like, oh, what the fuck is that? And then, but as
some people stayed there. Some people stayed and what the fuck is that? And they didn't think about it any further.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, yeah, because Ralph said he didn't get it.
How do you not move? Like, I don't know.
Because it was a hard
but
left
he kind
turn.
of broke it down. He was like, yo, come here. Not only did he say, come here and let me talk, let me holler at you. He said, come here and let me holler at you. Had a pistol right while he was talking to him.
Right. Yep.
He was like, yeah. So here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Oh, you think I would drug you? And not tell you, and then he turned around and ended up drugged anyway. Because the dude freaked out. Was like, "What the fuck?" And he had already taken it. But again, that acceptance was like, "Oh."
And I knew he was going to turn into one.
Yeah, and then they had the horse on there because he wanted to be accepted and part of that whole thing, you know. And it gets to show there's risk with that. He ended up turning into a fucking horse. So you're still fucking labor,
right?
At the end of the day, after all that shit you've done.
All that shit. Yep. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that whole part has something to do with like the slave trade shit, like how, oh, you think I'll drug you, like just kind of tricking you, like, no, yeah, you good, you know what I'm saying? But then you actually end up turning into a fucking workhorse.
But a lot of people didn't get that.
See that.
I don't think it's as obvious as y'all are making it. I really don't. I don't think it's as obvious as y'all are putting it out there. Like, I don't think it's really that easy to see that movie and just walk away being like, oh, it means workhorses. I get it. I think it does take a little bit of and I don't want to make this sound like degrading or pretentious, but it does take a little bit of a creative mind to pick something like that up and be like, okay, that's what I got. It wasn't obvious. And that's what I think is beautiful about this movie. I don't think a lot of things were overly obvious. Yeah, the whole prison thing, I forget what it was called now. Well Life or whatever it was called. The thing that
the company.
Yeah. The company, whatever it was. That was fairly obvious. I think that if you didn't get that, you just weren't trying to think. But I think a lot of the other coded things, I don't think they were overly obvious. And I think that that's why this movie was so hard hitting.
Were all the horses black? And gangsters too, weren't they?
We assume, but it doesn't say it.
But some of the way some of them talked.
Because that would be even, like, I'm just not thinking about this, but, you know, when you brought up the company and the face of the company on the commercials are white, but then the horses were black, and you typically don't see them, so they're doing all the actual work because they're kept off site. And then when they actually turned about it, was like, yeah, this motherfucker's turning people into horses. They were like, oh, what a brilliant idea!
Right?
Why did I think of that? You know. So again, wow, that's
the way things are now. Because if you consider like how they send labor overseas to get these children to build hats and build shirts and make jeans, like. They would never put that shit in the commercial. In the commercial, it's going to be these happy ass workers.
You're right.
So all of that, and again, once again, like that's not something that I feel like people would see and just immediately get, and then just walk out being like, "Oh, I understand it."
No, I get you. Yeah, I think ultimately I can appreciate it, but it was just a little over the top for me.
And me, I say make them as over the top as possible. I feel like if you are a black director and you want to make movies like this, go even more over the top. Go, jump off all the way off the fucking cliff. We need a black David Lynch. We don't really have that. And I feel like it's unfair, not that you're doing this, but I feel like it's unfair that a lot of people are looking at this and being like, I've seen this. This is some white boy shit. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I would never.
And I know you wouldn't, but some people they see outside the box, they see weird, and they say it's not for me. Yeah. And I think that it's not black enough, and that's not fucking fair. We need people to go as far creative as they want to. Yep. So that's why I commend Boots Riley for your first fucking film. You knocked this shit out the park.
Yeah, and I feel, just to kind of piggyback on what Mike was saying, is that we need it. You know, because it adds to the color palette, and and we can't just have one type of film all the time.
Right.
So we need to venture outside of that and let people know that there are, you know, that black people, that there are multiple different ways of enjoying it.
Yep.
You know, and to receive something. And my theater was filled with that. You guys had people walking out. So that goes to show that, you know, there are some people that are that diversity is there. So,
no, I know it's there because, like I said, I've seen the reviews and I've seen people say a lot of positive stuff about this.
And it's just, you know, it takes time. It's going to take time for us to start to appreciate that. It's going to take people like us to advocate for it and to, you know, even against the objections. And even though we understand the objectives, but just to kind of go, just have a dialogue and a conversation. That's where it all starts. No,
this definitely, like, I'm glad we had this conversation. I've been anticipating this conversation because I really. Now I want to go back and watch it. Right. Yeah. I want to go back. I will go back and look at it or whatever, and just kind of. I guess more open, but I feel like I went in with a very open mind. I knew it was gonna. I feel like I knew it was gonna be kind of weird.
I think that's what was so refreshing.
I knew it was gonna be weird.
I didn't know nothing
you
about
just didn't like it. That's fine.
Yeah,
you can't force yourself to like some shit.
Right.
But that's the thing. It's like I was going through waves in the movie in the theater. I was like, damn, I feel like I like this, but then something happened. Like, oh shit.
It may be like Kid Cudi's Man on the Moon.
No, I don't think it's like that.
It may take, but
true. It may take you a couple years and then you go back. Because look. Kid Cudi,
I wanted to go back and look at it too. Yeah,
Kid Cudi started a whole thing. By himself.
Yeah, he did.
He started a lot. Like if you think about this movie, like I feel like this has the potential to be what's Drake's mixtape?
So Far Gone.
Like this has the potential to be something like that can really change the industry.
No, I can see
to where we're not just getting fucking hood films.
No, I can see that.
You know what I mean? So
no, I appreciate the director, man. It's just, you know. Just was a little over top for me.